Good times create weak people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times create strong people. Strong people create good times. That's the history of the world over and over and over again.
Yes.
And so what happened is that generation who was weak became strong because the environment demanded it. They became the heroes. So we go through these seasons. I could show them to you 1,000 years of Roman history and you can see them. And it shows you the seasons of history and how everybody enters that. Like everyone's gonna have winter. Some are gonna have it in their 20s, some are gonna have it in their 40s, some are gonna have it in their 60s or 80s, some are gonna have it when they're children. And then we all move through these seasons that are pretty much historic because the older person dies, everybody loses that lesson, and then we tend to, unfortunately, have to relearn some lessons again. So I want you to know that if it looks really horrible right now, if you follow those cycles, we're about halfway through winter. If you can anticipate what's coming, you can really take advantage. If you wait till it hits you, you're in trouble. So I think we're in a time where it's gonna be a better year if you're willing to be better, right? And so what matters? A few subjects, your body, because your energy matters. That energy is low, everything I just said is worthless to you. Because you're just gonna go, he's talking too fast and there's a lot going on and yeah, well, hopefully the future will be better. Because when you're low energy, you don't use your full intelligence or ability. And the point of the matter is most people, that energy has been lower. So you need energy, you need emotion. If you don't know how to master your emotion, emotions start wars. Emotion creates peace. Emotion gets you laid. Emotion gets you children. Emotion is what can make that business work or fail. And most people don't know how to direct their own emotions. What's another lesson? You gotta look at your own financial world. If you don't master it, it's gonna create enormous stress. Your relationships are everything, as we've already said. Your business or your career, or hopefully it's your mission. And then there's the spiritual side of life. So you can take a half dozen areas and go, let me find who's genius in this area and let me go learn from them. Let me go read, let me listen to podcasts. Let me be conscious about feeding my brain things that are gonna give me not only inspiration, but insight and skill and tools. And everyone I know who is not only successful, but is able to contribute back to society, it has a hunger to constantly improve at least one area of those 6 areas of their life, and the most happy are the ones that hit in multiple areas. And that's why, like one of the reasons I wrote Life Force, richest man in the graveyard is not your goal. It's like, there's an old phrase that says, a person who's healthy has 1,000,000 dreams. A person who's not healthy has one, So I wanted to give people the cutting edge in that area because it's such a critical area. Problems are the fuel for growth, right? And so it's like, if you don't have any problems, you're either a liar or you might call them challenges. It feels better, I understand that. But anybody who doesn't have problems is either totally asleep at the wheel or they don't have much of any kind of a life. No responsibility, nothing they're building. So I think the first thing is this misnomer that if I have a problem, there's something wrong with me or my life. And I think the second one is this delusion we've sold people on that getting what you want is gonna make you happy. You could call success getting what you want. I don't define it that way, but that's how most people do. But then there's fulfillment. And fulfillment is living what you're made for. It's like, I think the biggest challenge people have, and the reason they're not able to respond to challenges, they're just thinking about themselves, and it's not that hard to meet your own needs. And it's nobody's fault. I mean, these little things in our pocket, these little mini computers we used to call phones, they're constantly conditioning you to instantly get what you want. And that's not how human relationship works. And it's sure as hell not how you build a business, right? It's not a straight line. If you go to nature, you will not see a straight line unless a human built it, because everything grows a little up and down like a stalk, like anything else. But if it really grows, it keeps growing, but it's a winding process. And so I think the problem is that people don't have something that they're wanting to serve more than themselves, because it's so much more interesting to be in the game of life and keep growing and expanding and being challenged. That's what makes you feel alive. And everything's on the line. You won't come up with answers you'll never come up with for yourself, right? So it's like having that sense of mission. And then I think the next problem is that people think they have to know how. I call it the tyranny of how. You get all excited, I'm gonna do this, and then your brain goes, I've never done it before, oh my God, what do they say? I don't know how to do this. And they tend to focus on how to do it. And when you start with how, you're screwed. If you can figure out what you want and why you want it, and you get strong enough reasons, Some people will do it, like we'll almost all do it for something more than ourselves. Some people do it because they like winning. I like winning. I like being the best at what I do. So I'm not going to settle for less than that. Why would I? Right? So you got to find your reasons. But if you know what you want and you get a big enough why, now you'll figure out how to do it. But if you start with how, the small brain, the fear brain, so shit, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do 90% of the time either. I know what and why, and then I try something. Doesn't work, I try something else. Or something else. Now I speed it up by learning from the best. So my life is really about learn from the best, but I don't start with the how. I start with the what and the why. And I think that's the mistake most people make. And then how do you get confident? You do stuff. I'm focused on how do I serve them? What do they need? What do they want? How can I serve? And when you're focused on others and how to serve them, there's no lack of confidence in you, because if it's not working, you just change your approach, because it's all about serving. People that are scared to speak are thinking constantly, how am I doing? Am I good enough? Am I strong enough? You'll never get confidence. Confidence comes from doing something confidence is tying your shoes, right? Confidence, Michael Jordan making 1,000 shots before you take a break. Every single day, 6 days a week. So you look at Jordan, or you look at, LeBron, or you look at anybody who's the best in the world at what they do, and you go, aren't they lucky? But if you actually study them, you'll see they're doing things, they're practicing in private things that make them certain in public, and they get rewarded for what they do in public.
Yeah.
And you got to do the same. We say you lose it, you don't actually lose it, but it gets weaker and weaker, as you well know, right? And what happens the minute you start making demands on it, especially if you haven't made demands in a while, it doesn't take much to see real muscle growth, right? And so it's like if you constantly live in fear, your world gets smaller and smaller, and it tends to get more fearful. Like, who's more fearful? Someone who's broken 10 bones in their body and healed them as a kid, or someone who never broke a bone? You know the answer is. I always tell people, a belief is a poor substitute for an experience. That psychological shift is the most important shift that people could make. It's a shift in your identity. And so if you judge yourself too soon, and most people's identity, their labels for themselves, who they think they are, has been based on their past, and often many years ago. And so they don't update it. So the metaphor I'd give for identity is like, it's your comfort zone. It's not your goals. So if you took a temperature in the room and it said 68 degrees is my comfort zone, physically, emotionally, financially, I want more in my relationship, I want more physically, energy-wise, I want more financially in my career, but this is what I'm used to. And so what happens? People stay in their comfort zone for the most part, and then let's say something happens and you dip, you're a 68 degreer, that's your mentality, and you drop down to 62, 61, 60, somewhere around 60 or 59, the heaters kick on and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're a 68 degreer, what the hell are you doing? We've all experienced that. All of a sudden you go, I'm not gonna live like this anymore. I'm not gonna be in this relationship. I'm not gonna be fat like this. Boom, and you get this drive and you start to change.